as far as like our main goals, which is what we usually think of, like getting skills and stuff like that, I wanted to go over our summer goals, but
Someone
we can do that
forgot it.
later. But what I wanted to do now is like update our goals and start setting some goals for competition. So be able to really, I know, but okay. So I want to do like 2 pieces of paper and then do one with goals for like any skills you still need to get, or like form and skills, that kind of thing. Like if you want to really like straighten your legs in a back handspring on beam or something like that. Okay. The other piece is for goals for competition, like how you want to perform and what you want your mindset and attitude to be during competition. So I want to change something about how we set goals this season. I don't want us to make goals like get a 9.5 on bars or something like that, or like get first all around. I want our goals to be performance based, not results based. So like we can only focus on what we can do, like what we can control. And if we focus on getting a certain score or making a certain place, then we're leaving our goals up to the judges and up to other people competing. Like we can't control that, so we can't worry about it, you know? Like that lets us have a lot of room for worrying. So yeah, I want us to like focus on setting goals for our performance. I want to focus on like setting goals for, you know, how you want your form to be, how confident you want to be when you're performing, or like having a good attitude and being like just having fun and that kind of thing. Like obviously don't forget about like I need to get this skill, and this skill, but then also focus about like form on the skills and then attitude things. So that's pretty much it. So we can start writing goals down. So remember, 1 piece of paper for skills and the other piece of paper for like outlook goals, like attitude and stuff like that. Yeah, I have one too. So next little section. The next thing is daily goals. So like before practice every day.
We're still writing?
Yeah. Well,
Right? No.
Is it a new sheet
if
of
you're taking
paper?
notes, but this isn't something you have to write down.
Oh, okay, good.
At least not today. So we're gonna make daily goals. So every day before practice, you gotta first of all like decide on your purpose every day. Like why are you doing gymnastics? Like why are you at practice? Like
Because my mom made
what's the reason? You have to have a purpose, or else you're not. I heard what you said. I know, and some days, listen, you're not going to be very motivated. You're not going to be very motivated, but you still have an overall reason why you're doing gymnastics, and so that can help you when you're not feeling very motivated. Like you can remember why you do gymnastics. Well, then that's something to think about. Like,
I don't know.
why are you doing gymnastics?
Because I want to get away from my brother.
For free,
He's
maybe by
annoying.
the end of this we can figure some of that out for those of us that don't really
Free education.
know.
That's mine.
I
So,
know.
first of all, why do we do it?
Because of my
Second,
brother.
maybe like on the way to practice, unless you drive like me or Jesse, then you can just come up with it in your head. On the way to practice or sometime before practice each day, you gotta make at least one goal for the day.
You are expecting a lot.
I mean, you can keep working on the same goal for different
My goals
days.
can be the same every single day.
Be better.
It could be like new skills. It could be like not talking so much and staying focused.
I don't like that.
Having a good attitude, even. So one idea is that you could take your list of goals that we just made and find one skill or something on there that you're like getting close to, and just make that your goal for that day. And so you work really hard on that, and that's your goal for the day to get that skill. Or you could even like break these into smaller parts. If they're kind of just like one big skill, you could say, my goal for the day is to move this up from the low beam to the medium beam, or to the low beam
What's
to the
the
high
medium
with
beam?
mats. Come up with a goal for every day. So yeah, either skills or like attitude, that kind of thing. Ideally, we would have like one goal for each event, so you have something to work on each event, and one outlook goal with one attitude. So I would say like if you do 4 events, like 4 skill goals and 1 attitude goal. So outlook goals, really that would be like the not talking as much to stay more focused, or like just being happy to be there, having fun, something like that.
We would get in trouble for doing that.
What do you mean? You wouldn't get in trouble for
For being
that.
happy for be there.
It's because we goof off sometimes.
Yeah, so just being happy to be there doesn't equal goofing off.
Doesn't
that means
mean
like being happy
spastic
to
dolphining into the pit.
Getting
Wait, what?
Okay, so being happy to be there would be like, instead of just kind of putting in half the effort and just kind of like being like, I don't want to be here,
What time is it?
yeah, like how much longer do we have? Instead of doing that, like every second of practice, you're working towards something, and you're like,
Excited.
you're excited to get your skills and to get your goals that you've planned out for that
Not
day.
you're like,
and so having outlook goals will help you to be more excited to reach your skill goals. So like we don't have to write anything about that right now, unless you want to just write down some ideas or something. You can just write that like Monday on your way to the gym, or just sometime earlier that day. Even if you have to like do it in the morning before you leave for school, do that at some point before you come to practice, so that you have something to work towards every day. So other stuff is like at gym, like while you wait for turns, don't be like talking, goofing off, but visualize what you need to fix on your next turn, like what you need to do better and what correction you can make. Because we are really bad about standing there in line and just talking to each other instead of actually thinking about what we need to do. And so then when we get up on the beam, or whatever you're doing, like I know on bars we talk a lot. So when you get up on the equipment, then you don't really have an idea in your head of what you need to do. So then if I do that, then I have to stand there an extra 10 seconds to get together in my head what I need to fix. Like, does that make sense? 'Cause
Yeah.
we do that a lot. Yeah, so I think we need to like cut down on the talking a lot. I know sometimes they make us do no talking days, but I think we need to kind of
But we
aim
still
for
talk
that.
on the no talking days.
See, I think we can talk about like if you ask somebody to watch your turn to tell you if you're doing something right. Like something like that is okay. But I don't think we need to, especially don't talk about something like what happened at school.
Kiwi's boyfriend.
Kiwi's boyfriend.
Exactly.
Anything like that. I mean, like talk about that at break before you get to the next event. So yeah, like let's aim from now on to really like focus between turns and to just be preparing for your next turn, so that we don't waste a bunch of time, and that way we can get more skills in and more reps. And I think we're gonna end up being like we're gonna have our skills better for doing that. So that's gonna be like once we get into season,
Because if I don't talk, that's going to be a problem, because then they're going to ask me, what's the matter, Santos? And I
think
can't
they're gonna have
talk.
a problem.
I
They're gonna
can't
have
talk.
a problem with you not talking.
Oh, if they ask you a question, answer them.
Don't be like-
I'm not saying you have to just zip your lips and be completely quiet.
I think
Like,
if we're silent, it's going to be the most boring time ever, and we're not going to want to go to practice and stuff. So we need to
I'm not saying
yeah, we don't
like,
need to have a silent practice. We just need to cut down in between practice or in between turns when we're supposed to be focusing.
don't just talk randomly. Sorry,
Oh,
I
like
think I just
unlike
spit on you.
yesterday.
And like
how
on
we
breaks,
talk
you can talk on
like that.
breaks. Just like don't be like, oh, I can't talk at all at gym. I have to be like a mouse at gym.
Yeah,
You can
see,
talk
do that. But all I'm saying is just like, if you're about to go, don't be talking about completely random things.
Sorry.
Like, really try and just like focus on what you're about to do instead of thinking about like a bunch of other stuff that's happening. And you know, we'll go over focus in a later week, but yeah, we need to like keep our focus and concentration between turns so that we're more effective and we don't have to stand there and think when we're about to go. Okay, so at meets, I don't want us to look at the scores like during the meet.
I don't know.
Listen.
That's not fair. I
Like, our
predict
own
my
scores?
scores and then I
Or our
write it down.
teammates. Like, I just don't want us to look at the scoreboard
And get
during the meet.
disappointed and then you get sad
Because,
and then
listen,
you get down.
If you look at it and then you, like, whether you get a high score or a low score, like, if, for example, if you get a really high score that's really good for you, you're gonna just, like, I mean, not necessarily, but you could get, like, distracted by that and be really excited about that and like, lose your focus for the rest of the meet. Or, if you get a low score that's, like, really bad for you, then
You're gonna let that score
you
get in the way.
could get really disappointed in that, yeah, and discouraged, and not think as much, like, not be as confident in yourself for the next event. You know, like, I don't want us to look at our scores until the end of the meet, and then I don't really want us to like do all that much with the scores. Just kind of be like, oh, I got that, okay. And so, yeah, like, I think that will help us to be more focused, again, on, like, performance, like I said earlier, rather than the outcome. You know, like, all we need to focus on at meets is going out there and sticking routines. Like, that's all we need to worry about.
Can we look at them after?
Yeah. Like, after the whole competition's over, I don't have an issue with that. And I just kind of,
What?
so I was saying last week, what?
Don't have an issue of what?
Looking at the scores after. So if you go
Just
on to
not
meet scores
during.
online,
Look for some people.
Oh, I
like,
thought you were talking about
I know
those goals.
some-
or get
like,
your
a couple
parents,
people-
get your parents to write them down for you.
Yeah, I know like a couple people, like if they get like a really good score on an event, it kind of pumps them up and it like makes them like do better on like.
Yeah, but I think that needs to come from us feeling like we did really good.
Yeah.
Like, you know that feeling when you finish a routine and you're expecting a really good score, and then sometimes you don't get a really good score. But you
Sometimes
know
I
you
don't
did a good
expect a
routine for
good
you.
score.
Yeah.
You know, like, that's what we're focusing on instead of the scores, which again you can't control.
Yeah.
Because, you know, either something could happen in your routine or the judge might see something. I mean, like, you can't control your scores. All you can do is control what you're doing. Like, all you can control is your performance. So that's all we need to think about at meets. And after our routines, like, you know whether you did a good routine for you or not. It doesn't need to be based on a score, because then you can use that score and compare yourself to everybody else. You can be like, oh, that person got a way higher score than me. I must not be doing really well. Well, you did good for you, so it doesn't matter. Like, like, people say, like, comparison is the thief of joy, and that's really, really true. And we don't need to compare ourselves to other people's scores, or, like, even to, like, our scores from the year before. Like, all we need to do is just perform our best, and that's going to help us to stay present and focused on what we can do. And at the end, I'll look up some quotes that I had saved about goals and purpose and stuff like that. So, I've got one little section on purpose, and then we're going to make our mental routines. So, for purpose, again, like I said before about every day in practice, know your purpose. This is kind of like that, but just kind of overall. Like, your purpose in practice one day might be to get a skill, you know? That might be your purpose in practice, but overall, like, know what you're doing. You got to figure out what you're doing this for. Like, why are you doing gymnastics as a whole? Give your gifts. So, something that you do really well that you can use to benefit the team. Like, my things were like, be a leader, a motivator, and a role model, or like, and and yours could be, you know your gifts, like you know how you can benefit the team, and if you don't, then you can come up with something, and so that's gonna like help us have a really nice like team dynamic and be really confident and strong as a whole. So yeah, just find what you're good at it and use it to help your teammates. What?
All around.
What?
What did she say?
What is dynamic?
Like as a whole, like
It
a
means,
team
like,
vibe.
The vibe, yeah. Do you know what that means?
Like we have a really good team relationship. We work well together.
Yes, like working well.
Does that make any
We
sense?
get along. We work well together.
Like a sisterhood.
Sure. Yeah.
You got it?
Like
Okay.
a sisterhood.
Okay, so this is like a big reminder right here, and we forget this, but like gymnastics is about more than routines and scores, you know? Like
We do it
it's
out of
not
joy.
just like the focus shouldn't just be on having a really good meet. Like that's not going to lead to anything, and that's not going to help you after you are done with gymnastics. I mean, like I'm going to be done competing with gymnastics after the season, and then after that, like how has it helped me like as a person? And I can see like how it has, because it teaches you how to well, I had a few things written down. Like it teaches you how to overcome obstacles, how to lead as a team, how to overcome fear. I mean, like you have to do that every day at gymnastics. You have to stay positive and be determined. So like overall, gymnastics is not, it's not like about the actual flips and scores and meets. It's not about that. Like it, I know Vlad always says this, and so it sounds really cheesy, but it's like it builds character. Honestly, it does.
What does he say?
Tiny bit of homework. You don't even have to like write this down. Just be thinking about
Wait,
what your
write this
purpose
down?
is.
I cannot believe
No,
that
you don't have to
finish
down.
that sentence.
You just figure out like in your head what is your purpose in gymnastics, and figure out like a purpose for each day of practice. Okay, so after that, I'm gonna read like what mental choreography is. So the next 2 weeks are very important. We're gonna be doing mental choreography. Oh, really?
That wasn't me this time.
Remember, out of control thinking leads to out of control performance. Mental choreography is your key, and it really is, to confident, consistent routines. When you use cue words throughout your routines, your mind stays focused and tight, leaving no room for negative paced thoughts. It is just as important to choreograph thoughts as it is to choreograph a floor or beam routine. Do you go out and compete on floor without your floor routine being choreographed? Heck to the no. Do you go out and compete in beam without a beam routine? No. But most of us,
You gotta say it, babe.
heck to the no. But most of us have no idea what we should be thinking when we are working out or competing. That's why we do mental choreography. Have you ever watched Amanda Borden before she competes?
Who's that?
No, she was in the Olympics. Just in general, high level college elite gymnast.
Is that the, no, never mind, that's
Amanda
the Catalina
Borden?
girl.
She was a former Olympic gymnast, but have you ever watched her before she
Before my
competes? What does she do? She talks to herself.
Lori Hernandez does that.
She's doing her mental
That's why
choreography.
she's my favorite
Listen,
gymnast.
she's doing her mental choreography. Do you think she's saying to herself, I hope I make this, I hope I don't crash? No, probably not. What she's doing is visualizing her routines and saying to herself, relax, I can do this. Like Laurie's, I got this. We know that the biggest cause of negative performance or balking is out of control thinking. You need disciplined thoughts, increasing consistency, and concentration. Constructing positive mental choreography is one of the first things you can do to create mental toughness. There are 3 types of thoughts that you want to use in mental choreography. Here they are. So mechanical statements are statements reminding you of a physical or mechanical technique, like form. So like lift, then twist, tie your arms, and breathe. Energy statements are statements that evoke an emotional response, like go, push here, and relax. I don't really use those a whole lot except for the 2-minute turnaround thing, like stop, breathe, vision, go. Self-esteem statements are statements that encourage self-confidence, and I use these a lot. Like, I can do it, I've done it before, this is easy, be the best I can be. Use these statements to choreograph your routines and individual tricks as well. So the exercises on a big piece of paper or
Didn't we already do that?
paper, no. Write out each of your routines. They say for floor and beam you can draw your pattern, but I don't know how to do that, so
Fake.
really
You go like
I would just so then what I would do if you don't want to do that, just listen. If you don't want to do that, I mean you can do that. If you don't want to do that, then you could write out each skill in your routine and then make like either like columns or just draw a little dash in between and then write what you're thinking during that.
I don't get it.
I might just write the little.
Let me finish and then if you still don't get it, I'll explain more.
That's what I'm thinking.
So, for, let's see, okay, for like bars, and then it also says guides events, write a list of your skills and the thoughts you want to be thinking on each skill. For vault, write what you were thinking before you run, during your run, and during your vault. You may not have mental choreography during every skill, but remember the more your mind is busy, the less you'll be distracted. So you know like how honestly, like during beam, my mind just can go all over the place. It could, like, I could be thinking about anything, especially like before I tried to do this. I would just like be thinking about the most random stuff. So yeah, the more your mind is busy, the less you'll be distracted. Practice your mental choreography by doing mental walkthroughs until it comes automatically. So this is gonna be something that takes practice. So practice it a little bit before, before gym. You can do that over this weekend, and then at gym, whenever you do routines, think of your mental choreography. And that was also what I was saying, like between turns, you can be thinking of that if you don't have anything else to do. And so like, I want to talk to the coaches. I just thought of this. So I might ask if we can, instead of having to do like skills on the line, unless you really need to, but that sometimes is like pointless for me. Instead of doing that, then we could stand there and go through our choreography. So yeah, you want your mental choreography to happen naturally without thinking. This helps you get into the zone. So do you still not get what it is?
Get what?
I get what it is, but are we
Like
supposed
when
to
the
like write
UCLA
our
gymnasts put on headphones.
UCLA gymnast.
So for poses and stuff, I usually write down I'll write down the skills. I'll just go through my routine in my head, and then if I get to a dance part, I'll just put dance and put like what I'm thinking during that dance. So like last year or the year before last, I would do. So I had like my full turn and then like a pose or something. So during the poses, I would have something. It would be like confidence, and then I would stand for my series and I would say something else like fearless. And then, so I do like one step, one word, and then I'll swing and like get ready, like prepare for my series and say something else. So really you can do it however you want, but that's the kind of thing. So again, the statement, like you want to have some like mechanical statements, like for form, just reminders that you know you need. And then you can have like just something, if you have to just tell yourself go, then just say that. I use a lot of the self-esteem statements, like I've got this, I've done it before. For bars, write a list of your skills and what you're thinking during each
You have to put quick cast handstand.
Yes.
Well, you don't so we have to write all of our skills.
You don't have to, like what she said was you don't have to have something for each skill, but the more you're thinking, like the more your mind is busy, the less you're thinking about other stuff.
Oh, I just think.
So the more focused you are.
I think I don't even think about anything.
I don't think of anything.
Listen,
Yeah, same.
I feel like you might
go.
think
I
that
just say
way.
go.
Like I think of stuff before I go, but then I'm like, okay, bail.
Yeah,
next.
when I
toe to
ask-
handstand,
when
toe to
I
half.
Okay, just as long as you're not thinking about the next skill.
I see
like,
that
you know,
Mel's
No,
gonna
but
get
if
on
I
to
don't
me.
do that, then I
If I,
forget
like-
about the skill, and then I'm like, oh my gosh,
Like
I'm gonna.
if
I
I
want
do
to
something-
no.
Yeah. If I do something, I'm like, oh
Does
my
that make
gosh, that was
sense?
garbage, and then I move on.
I do that too.
Okay, so like in your cast handstand,
I
then you
think
could think about what you're about to do.
That's
like,
what I do.
I'm just saying, like in your, I don't know, like in your bail, don't be thinking about what you're doing next.
Like my
Like, in
thoughts
your,
are
like,
in the
skills-
moment.
Oh, so in the bail, don't think about this now.
Yeah.
Okay.
So like yeah, if you just have to say it, like if you just have to say kip cast handstand, free hip, like that kind of thing, I guess you can do that too. And then on your bigger skills, do some like self-esteem statements. Stuff
Ooh,
like
I
that.
misspelled Cassie.
Okay, takeaways. Remember your goals. Like remember your big list of goals, and then break those down into smaller goals if you need to. And then make sure you go into practice every day with a purpose, and try and get a goal for each event and a attitude goal, outlook goal, that kind of thing. And then okay, we're gonna remember at meets. We need to remember the scoreboard thing, like only focus on your performance and what you control. Like we can't
They ask you what you got. I don't know if it's let me look at it.
during the meet, then you just say I don't know yet and I don't want to know until after.
You could ask your parents if they could take down the
Like
score.
some people,
On our team,
yeah, they'll be like, oh my
we're gonna
gosh,
say
AMBERLE.
But as a team, we're not going to look at the
yeah, yeah. That's why I'm telling everyone this. Like we, as a team, are gonna try and not look at it. Like if you glance at it, just keep it to yourself. Don't tell anybody.
Yeah.
Just by accident. But we're gonna try. I'm gonna try and remember to say that before meets. Like all we're gonna do, and like during our pep talk. Bye. During our pep talk, I'm gonna try and remember all like a bunch of this stuff. So yeah, all we're gonna do is just focus on what we can control, which is our performance, and that's it. So we're not gonna look at the scoreboard. And during practice, and especially at meets, use your gifts. Encourage your teammates. Like we want to be a good team that like builds each other up and helps each other. So, and then just remember to practice your mental choreography at home this weekend and try and use it during practice this week. And then next week we're gonna do bars and not bars, vault and floor. And also, like the topic for next week is positive state of mind. So staying positive. Okay, that's it.
That good.
So how you want to perform, like how you want to do skills.
What they laughing at?
All right.
We were just in the middle of this serious thing.
Wait, what were y'all talking about?
No joke. That was what happened.
I'm just picturing Jesse in school.